It's Lightning Talks. We are back for round two on the 9th day of hope. You survived. You're here. You're strong. You're energetic. And it's only a few more hours until you can rejoin your family, start paying attention to other things in the world, and who knows, maybe even take a nap or enjoy a beverage. We have a number of people in the room. We're not going to pause. We're going to get right to it. We have, I think, enough to fill up the hour. First up is Chad. Chad, go ahead, unmute, screen share, whatever you want, and you have 5 minutes.
Greg, it says host disabled, participant screen share.
Hold on, bad host. You know what happened was we changed the Zoom room from the one we've been using for presenters. Give it another try.
Ah, cool. All right, I think.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries. I think we're in business.
Host. Evil host. You're live. Go ahead. Yeah, you're live, Chad, but we don't hear you. Go ahead and make sure you're unmuted on the audio.
Hold on. So I thought the audio would go through on the PowerPoint.
Ooh, yeah, that's advanced Lightning Talk. We're not getting it, I'm afraid. No. If you want to take a moment and mess with that and come back a little later, that would be okay. But sending audio into Zoom is possible.
Oh, booger.
Shall we go on with Lightning Talk number 2, and you can take a look at that? There are some settings under the little microphone dude in the lower left of your Zoom. And I mentioned this last night, Hackers Got Talent. This is why we pre-recorded many of our talks, because messing around with Zoom is really boring to watch. Look, let's go on. Let's go on to the next speaker. 86112 is what I have in my list, and we'll come back to you, Chad. Eight 61612, are you with us? Not with us. Okay, Claire N., you are next on my list. Are you ready, Claire?
Yes, I am, Greg.
Let's do it.
Sweet. All right. From start. All right. Well, greetings and salutations, Hope 2020. I hope your day is going well. My day is going peachy. So today I'm going to talk about bridging the gap with social activities in a pandemic. So typically in my day job, I talk about network and email threats, but today I'm going to talk about a slightly different topic, which is an issue that threatens the layer 8 on the OSI model. I'm not going to talk about the other about stuff. You probably can read faster than I can say it, so take a quick skim through. All right, so just to preface, a lot of these are suggestions and ideas that I came up with based on what I've seen and done at work and also in my personal life. So just a couple ways to bring people together online may include video conferencing socials. So that might include, using Zoom or other video chats to connect with others. The fun rating for that is 3 out of 4 stars. Another thing you can do is tap on shoulder chats, which is essentially, for example, telling a friend or coworker that you want to talk to them, and you give them not even a minute to prepare and get ready, which it can be fun. I mean, you might catch them off guard, but there's always that. There's also mandatory fun in air quotes. That's never fun. In terms of these points, I want to make it clear that it's very useful to make it optional and not mandatory. If you make it mandatory for people to join, it might not be as fun. There's also a virtual mate tea party that you can throw. Those seem to be pretty fun. full disclosure, I've never actually heard of Mate Tea before the Hope Conference. So I attended one of the Meta Mate workshops, and that like I learned so much from that one workshop. I really want to try Mate Tea. I've never had it up here in Canada yet. So yeah. There's also a media watch party. So things like, watching Netflix together. There's also party games, fun rating. Let's find out. So next, you might have something called Scribble.io or Scriblio, as some people might call it. So essentially, this is an online Pictionary game. The person who is selected to draw has a prompt, and they're supposed to draw whatever the prompt is and have other people guess. There's points, and whoever has the most points at the end is the winner. Just one pro tip, don't try to draw the thing right away. Try to integrate it into a scene, build it up. Like, for example, Katy Perry and a photograph. There's also online board games. For example, netgames.io and Board Game Arena. So netgames.io is essentially board game variants that's optimized for mobile play. Granted, you can also play on your browser, on your desktop, or your tablet, or what have you. But it's optimized for mobile play. You could play games like One Night Ultimate Werewolf, Code Words, Spyfall, and more. Board Game Arena, you can play many board game versions on the interwebs as well, such as Coop, Seventh Wonder, Chess, Connect 4, and so much more. Board Game Arena is more of a freemium experience where most games might be free, but some premium games like Coop, for example, might require a subscription.
30 seconds, please. 30 seconds.
Okay. All right, and that's pretty much it. I got a couple bonus mentions, such as Jackbox. It's like a collection of games. You got Quiplash at the bottom, 100% Orange Juice, which is like a Mario Party variant without the mini games, and a bit more. And yeah, that's it for my talk. Thank you very much, and have yourself a wonderful day 9 of hope.
Outstanding. Thanks very much. That was Claire N. with Bridging the Isolation Gap with Social Activities in a Pandemic. Who did I say was next? I think I said Lily was next. You ready, Lily?
I'm ready. I'll start sharing my screen.
Do it.
Okay, where is there we go. Share button. Okay, so I've got this one going. Hope that's the right way to start. Okay, all right, so I am presenting on social engineering as an argument for positive psychology. My TLDR is that interactions via communication medium is in all ways relational. So it might sound strange that you can social engineer a computer without it being like a chatbot or something, but it goes directly to the point of associations and belonging. I look at the definitions of words. I have made other mentions on this page, which you can read for yourself at a later time if you have not read it now. So I think about how we can define belonging as being a relationship expectation between one or more living beings. So it doesn't have to be necessarily humans. It could be like between cats, how they fight, or have some like kind of dominance relationships. You could have computer controls, which are modeled upon physical and social concepts of security, because we really like to enforce what we have existing already in our lives. Mary Kondo talks about building relationships with our things, calling them belongings, in my opinion. And then lastly, I want to make sure that we acknowledge our relationship to ourselves, because we aren't always awesome to ourselves. And you can have positive use cases for social engineering, such as secure attachment between a parent or guardian and their child, coaching someone to bring out their best performance, balancing power and vulnerability and equities in a relationship. For instance, if you've married into wealth and you're paying all the bills without getting any help from the wealthy party, then it's kind of unfair. Connecting across cultural differences to build trust, loyalty, and respect, which is critical for our time. And here are the embedded works that are not mine that I can point to. And so here's where I'm starting to like break things down into phases of how you would progress from phase 1, 2 to 3 to 4, and what you would call the things at those stages. I want to make a quick definition of engage, which means to occupy, attract, or involve, which engages for me, which brings to mind things like occupying attention, attracting interest, getting involved with a action or relationship. And then I think that it could be the right word to use, and social media metrics use that as a form of engagement. So step 1, which was mentioned in Sean Lawson and Rob Gell's talk here at Hope 2020, is trashing, but I would prefer to call it acquainting. You're trying to get some type of information about what is happening in the subject or the target, to identify how they operate, such as a need that's being requested, like a child asking for food because they're hungry, or you're looking at some type of protocol that is used by like the telephone system, for instance. And then you want to try to either disengage attention so that you won't be observed, or you want to attract their attention in a sense, like you want to give your attention to someone instead, is what I'm trying to say, so that it's getting their, they'll feel heard, basically. So, and then the next stage is pretexting, which would defeat confidentiality, potentially, if their confidentiality isn't good enough. So you want to appear authentic or be authentic. If you're trying to build a relationship, you'd want to appear and be, not just appear.
30 seconds, Lily.
Yep.
30 seconds.
I've got 2 pages left after this. So then you're just trying to make sure that you can identify expectations and how they can be formed with, and you want to engage interest in something, or try to not get them to notice you. Similarly, in terms of integrity,
10 seconds.
I'm just going to show the last 2 slides, but I like to apply it to all types of things, like sports, for instance. You can condition a behavior to exploit in boxing, for example. That's all I have for now. Thank you.
Outstanding. Thank you. That was Lily Geiger with Social Engineering, an Argument for Positive Psychology. Kupad, you're up next. And Chad, I think we can have you on deck.
Great. Can you guys hear me?
We hear you and we see your slides. Look at that.
Great. So this talk is about using Arduinos for as an adapter for old retro controllers. I just think it's a good introductory, well, for me it was, for getting into Arduinos. It's a pretty cool project if you don't know about it. I'm not the person who originally, came up with this. I'm just talking about how I did it myself. All right, so here on the right, we see a NES USB adapter. And on the left, which is the impetus for this is the thing why I really wanted to get started with this, is actually a modded Atari 2600 paddle, where I modded the inside, and inside of that is an Arduino. And instead of using the normal DB9 connector, if you've seen these before, there's usually 2 to 1 DB9 connector. And now there's just one with a USB. These are recognized as HID devices, so you can plug it into, like a Raspberry Pi or any operating system really, and use it with an emulator. What else is there to say? The NES adapter on the right, you could get an adapter that is commercially, they make them commercially. But there's still advantages to making it on your own, besides it just being fun. These have lower latency than the ones you would typically buy. And then on the left, there isn't really even a commercially available 2600, Atari paddle. All right, so let me go on and just give you resources. I want to just jump to the most important stuff. So the person who actually did this work is a guy, MacGyver, and these are called Daemon Bytes. So if you go to his GitHub, he has a whole bunch of these for different adapters. But for the paddle itself, you should check out Mr. Spinner. And I should move on to say, I actually got into this through the Mr. FPGA, which is a really cool project. I'll talk about it a little bit here. So I could probably just talk about Mr. FPGA for 5 minutes, but it's an open project for basically using FPGA, the same FPGA board I don't think you'd really call it emulation. It's more like hardware simulation. If you don't know about it and get nothing else from this talk, and you're into retro gaming, you should check out Mr. FPGA. But the promise of these implementations, in Mr. FPGA, is that not only can they be very accurate, but they can have very low latency. Like with software emulation, there can be a friction between the two, but in the case of FPGAs, there isn't really. And I'm going to say that accuracy is probably why you're interested in that, self-evident, but low latency, even if you don't think you're sensitive to low latency, you might be. If you find yourself playing an emulator and you're thinking, gee, I used to be better at this game when I was a kid, it might actually just be that you're suffering from a lot of lag. So moving on, when I got into FPGA just a few months ago, I started getting into collecting controllers, because you get into this mindset of, oh, I want to really kind of have an experience similar to the original experience when I was a kid, or when, or even if I haven't played it before, just have something close. So here's just
30 seconds there, 30 seconds.
Oh, all right. Well, I will continue on. All right. So let me just talk about show and tell here. So here is me prototyping the paddle. Here's me putting a Arduino in the paddle, and finally you can have a paddle. And then next here is making the adapter. You basically take an extension cord and cut it and probe it, and then solder it to the Arduino. And you can either have it on the left, like kind of ugly looking, or you can make it a little bit better. And all right, I guess I rushed through here, and thank you very much.
Outstanding.
Great. Let me try to get out of this talk.
Right. Hey, thanks very much. That was Kupad with Arduino USB game controller adapter. Thank you for all of that. Do we want to try to go back to Chad? Do you want to try again, Chad? Something's happening.
Hey, hackers on and off planet Earth. It is time for some woo-woo. If you want some woo-woo yourself, it is 15 milliliters peach schnapps, 30 milliliters vodka, and 60 milliliters cranberry juice. I have not had one, but it sounds delicious. I'm Exponent in the Matrix, and the woo-woo for today's discussion is of the late Art Bell variety. He's the founder of Coast to Coast AM. For those of you who don't know, it is a late-night talk show on radio here in the States that concerns itself with everything that's woo-woo, conspiracy theories, UFOs, ghosts, numerology, tarot cards, all that fun stuff. And what I'm going to be talking about is that we may very well be in the Matrix, where Zion being the Earth itself, is destroyed every 5,000 years or so. I came across this 2 weeks ago. You can actually see in the last visit date was just a little while ago. 2 weeks ago. This is declassified EBE documents. This is the first thing that pops up. EBE is extraterrestrial biological entity. It is what we think the government calls the aliens, the ones that don't actually live here on Earth for the most part, and just like to visit and fly around in our skies like TikToks. The declassified document from the CIA, FOIA, and sanitized copy approved for release. So this document concerns itself with cataclysm, and cataclysm that happens again and again and again, and at least 5 times that we know of, that we can fairly accurately measure from strata data from Grand Canyon, from Diamond Head, from various places around the Earth. They all seem to match this exact same stratification of layers of the Earth, where cataclysms have been cataloged, and we can see them all over the Earth. This in the bottom right is kind of a timeline of the last 5, but it's possibly happened hundreds of times. The theory is that this is an Earth crust displacement theory, which is what the movie 2012, for those of you who saw that, concerns itself with, where the mantle, the crust, is separated from the inner core of the Earth, and everything just goes chaotic. There's tsunamis, there's supersonic winds, 1% of life is left at the end. The one thing that always sticks out to me is the talks in the past about how people saw the sunrise twice, or the sunset twice, or the day lasted for 24 hours. That really is what always sticks out in my head, because I've read those years and years ago, and they're mentioned in this document. He says that the process of the cataclysm is known. We still don't know the timing, what causes it, and it's been happening for a billion years. What is sanitized document? Sanitize is the process of removing sensitive information. Usually it's just magic marker, blacked out documents where the entire thing's blacked out. This document can be found on archive.org. Both versions, sanitized and the normal version, is on here. Search for Chan Thomas. He's the author of this piece. It does rewrite a Adam and Eve story of what he thinks the process of cataclysm is, the real thing is. So what's been changed? So a lot of stuff has been removed or changed. Usually it's just annoyingly small stuff. The strata data is often omitted from, like, Monument Valley strata, Diamond Head strata. Some cities are removed as far as what there's not a trace left of Chicago, Dallas, or Boston. Sudden revolutions in the wrong directions by the surface of the Earth is removed. The interesting part for me was India had gravity-propelled vehicles and gravity-made weaponry. That's why, boys and girls, we are not going to get any of the fun stuff. So, I gotta go. Enjoy.
This is about Zion. You are here because Zion is about to be destroyed. Its every living inhabitant terminated, its entire existence eradicated. Bullshit. Denial is the most predictable of all human responses. But rest assured, this will be the 6th time we have destroyed it, and we have become exceedingly efficient at it.
Hey, all right. Thanks so much for that. That was interesting. I appreciate that. That was the Woo Woo Time by Chad Chamberlain, Lightning Talk. Outstanding. Thank you. You can stop sharing your screen, and we'll go on to the next one in my list is 861612, who is going to try to rename himself. Are you still there? Are you with us? Are you ready to go?
Oh, okay.
I'm not Jason Scott.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hear me?
Your 5 minutes have begun. Please take it away.
Okay, well, let me just do this very quick. Oh, come on. You stopped my video?
Who, me? I didn't stop anything.
Somebody stopped my video. We will find you.
All right.
Okay, is it coming on now? Are you bringing me online?
You're online, and if you want to show us something on your screen, you need to share your screen
Okay,
in the Zoom menu.
Okay. You cannot start your video because the host stopped it. How dare you?
No,
I protest.
I did no such thing.
Okay, somebody did. Anyhow, because when I click on the video thing, it says you cannot start your video, host stopped it. So we don't really need to see me anyhow. Let's see if we can see my screen.
Okay. Oh, you're talking about your video signal. I did. I'm guilty.
Oh.
I'm guilty. Sorry about that. I'm guilty. I apologize. It's because I thought you meant you were trying to share your video on the screen share.
No.
You should be able to do it now. Yeah,
Okay.
I did it before because you were you weren't talking, so I muted you.
Okay, so.
All right, there's a minute and a half gone, but we're doing great. And part of that was my fault, so there might be some bonus seconds.
I should hope so. I should hope so. Okay.
Hey, tell us what your talk is while you're getting
Yes,
clicking around there.
my talk is about a idea. It's not just my idea. And did that share screen?
Not
guys-
yet. I haven't seen you try to share screen yet.
Okay, let
Or
me
turn
try
on your
one
video.
more time. Share screen. And
You know, you have to actually click. You can't. This isn't Star Wars Trek. You can't talk to your computer. You have to click something.
Why not? Okay, so session screen 1, screen 2, screen 3. So that's probably try this screen. God, I hate Zoom. I so hate Zoom.
We all do.
Okay, so it tells me I have 3 screens. Let's see, screen 1. Do you guys see anything on screen? Oh, I have to click the share button. God, they want
Might
so
be the way to
much.
go.
Okay. Terrible UI design.
This is so far. This is better than your Hackers Got Talent competition entry last night. I just got to
Oh,
tell
it
you.
hasn't been 39
Look,
minutes yet. Give me the
Try to
time.
do this. Try to do this in 2 minutes, please. 'Cause,
Okay. Can
yeah,
you see my screen
we can.
now?
No, you have 6. We not only do we see your screen, we see you. So we are at a level of success which has never before been achieved.
Wow. And on my screen, does it say Planet No Money?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's get over to Planet No Money. And we should be on default now. Yeah. Okay. So this is a very broken website. It's a work in progress. I'd hope to have it finished by the time of this talk. But basically the whole idea, and it's not my idea, billions of people maybe have had the same idea, but the key difference is that the way that I've defined the idea, because everybody likes the idea of a great world, a perfect world where, how do I put it? No poverty, John Lennon's song, Imagine. So the basic premise of Planet No Money is the goal is to remove money and bartering from the planet. So money and the power of ownership no longer matter. Okay. This is very complicated. I don't know how to do this, but basically, the idea is there's an email address, ideo@planetnomoney.org. And so how Planet Money works, you provide relevant ideas for a better place. Planet No Money takes your ideas without compensating you. And then somehow those ideas get implemented and we end up with the world being a better place for sentient creatures, and that includes all Homo sapiens, so animals, people, and of course our beloved planet Terra, which we're destroying. So that's it in a nutshell. I will be hammering pages up here as fast as I can. The URL is planetnomoney.org, and thank you for allowing me to put this idea forward.
Excellent. Hey, thanks very much for sharing.
I'm done unless there's questions.
No, we don't do questions in lightning talk, so that's it. But thank you so much, and I'm really happy that you fought Zoom and you have overcome it, and it only took you a couple of sessions, which is not bad.
Yes. Well, I've won 2 skirmishes. I have not won the battle yet.
All right, go ahead and see if you can unshare your screen. That would be the next little miracle.
Oh, okay, that's good. Yeah. So there's somewhere
Thanks.
Well, I'll tell you what, you can still switch away from me while I'm doing that.
We may do that, and I might mute you again. Okay, so we have a movie from Jolie. Let me just check. Are we gonna just roll that over the live stream, or are we gonna put it into Zoom somehow? Okay, we're going to roll a video over the live stream. People in Zoom, you can watch it on the live stream. Go ahead.
Hello, Hope. This is one of your backroom boys, Jolly, coming up with my lightning talk about the Internet Society in lieu of a keynote, which I never got around to doing. So yes, the Internet Society, and slides. Yeah, we've been streaming Hope since 2014, and we love Hope. The Internet Society was founded in 1982, which I thought was the same year the EFF were founded, but apparently they beat us, I heard just now, extended by 2 years. So we'll be looking forward to celebrating our 30th at Hope in 2022. Our motto for a long time at the Internet Society is "The Internet is for everyone." This has now been modified to saying that we want to build, promote, and defend the Internet. Last time when I was at Hope, I was the president of the New York chapter, which I am no longer. One of the things that I was able to do at ISOC NY was make a deal to finance the supernode of NYC Mesh, which basically got it going. I will say about NYC Mesh, it's now one of the most successful community networks in the world. And this all really got going was when they tabled with us at Hope in 2016, and that's when some of the core foundation people of NYC Mesh were recruited. It's going great, and check them out and join. So I left just to focus on the live streaming, which my home for this is ISOC Live, and we've got 3 live stream channels. We also stream on, as you're seeing, on Periscope and Twitch, and we do events from all over the world. Another thing I did was I reinvigorated the Internet Society's accessibility group, which is now called AliSig, according to the mnemonic way that things go. About a year ago, or even a little over a year ago, ISOC got a new CEO, which is Andrew Sullivan. And Andrew is a very sort of unique kind of character. He's Canadian, but he's an engineer, and he's also, I think, got a philosophy degree, so he's a thinker too. His claims to fame include that it was he that was sent as chair of the Internet Architecture Board to Congress to deal with Ted Cruz when Ted Cruz was opposing the IANA transition, and which he did successfully, and also that he was in charge at Dyn when they had the Mirai botnet attack. So he knows about DDoS for sure. As an engineer, he's basically come in and reorganized the Internet Society and cut off a lot of dead flesh and marshaled it into projects. And so now we have a clever action plan which has these as its main projects. Building community networks, which is a major push around the world, that basically everybody who's going to be reached by the major ISPs and so on has been reached, and now it's up for the people at the edges to reach back in. Obviously fostering the technical communities, measuring the internet. We've just started a new joint effort with the African Union to measure the internet in Africa, which is obviously one of the great areas of growth right now. The Internet Way of Networking, which is now has the acronym IWN, is the way of autonomous, equal way of networking, which you might take for granted, but by no means is the only way. Securing global routing, you just saw a presentation on that. Extending encryption. Now this is the major policy work. They've introduced backdoor laws in Australia and other places. Time security, which was addressed by both Dan York and Olaf in their presentations at Hope, and open standards, which is also what Dan did a presentation on before. So the Internet Society basically has 3 subsidiary organizations. One is the IETF, and so the IETF was just part of the Internet Society. In fact, the Internet Society was originally formed as a sort of parent for the IETF. And in the last couple of years, they've made it so that the IETF is now a sort of standalone subsidiary with its own accounts and everything. And at the same time, the money that comes into the Internet Society and was allotted in grants and this kind of thing has now been separated out into the ISOC Foundation. So that's out of there. And as you know, where most of the money comes from is the Public Interest Registry, which owns the .org. And I suspect you might have heard that later on last year, there was an offer to buy, an arrangement made to buy .org by Ethos Capital. And they offered $1.135 billion. And this was a little controversial. So just to talk about that for a bit. So last year, the ICANN decided to take off the price caps on .org, and this is for their own reasons that were nothing to do with us. And it didn't make a lot of difference for PIR, because PIR doesn't even meet its actual price cap that it's got. It's like $9 or something a domain right now. But this came, when we, the Internet Society, people were saying, well, you can't say anything about this because, you own a registry, and so we're in a situation where we can't even really talk about domain issues because we should be in the registry constituency, whereas in fact most of us are in the at large. And then what it came down to, and this is something that Jaron Lady has talked about, is fiduciary duty. So it's the duty of our trustees, who are selected from the IATF, from the organizational members, from the chapters and members, to do their best for the Internet Society. And one of the problems with the Internet Society is basically all our eggs are in one basket financially, which is the PIR. So we really need to diversify our source of funding, so that rather than having it invested in one business and one organization in that business. And so I'm going to go forward a slide, and so just a minute, forward a slide. So there was opposition, and some people formed a thing from save.org. Some people decided to organize a co-op to try and suggested that ICANN give the thing to them. They weren't helped by Esther Dyson, who went on PBR and suggested that .org registrants were being sold into slavery, which there was some pushback. And then they actually went to, and Mallory Nodal referred to this earlier, went to the California AG to try and get them to stop the thing, since ICANN is in California. And as I talked earlier about, Ted Cruz and everything, the whole effort has been to take the internet out of the hands of the American government and the American legal system and make it a global thing. So this was a step in the wrong direction, which could well backfire. So Ethos Capital responded by making public interest commitments, and they formed a stewardship council. That would be able to veto anything, that would have control, would make sure that there was no censorship and all this stuff. And even if they'd formed a co-op, the best thing you could have hoped for was a co-op, that eventually they'd make a committee that would make sure that the thing ran properly, which was essentially what Ethos was doing. And the opposition seemed to be mainly just, against capital in general, which I understand some people are opposed to that. And Ethos responded that, they wanted to grow the asset, and then, and that's it. And they saw that it was underexploited basically in terms of .org could be sold a lot more. It doesn't, it's basically an American thing. It's not a global thing. And they didn't do such a good job, Ethos, and so I had a joke there which I've forgotten. But anyway, it came down to ICANN making the vote, and ICANN voted to kill the thing. And it wasn't unanimous, but as a result of this, the whole deal is now dead and is not going to happen. But I have here the statement of Avery Doria, who's one of the directors on ICANN, saying why she opposed the deal. And she says, on balance, after intense study of the proposal, I've come to the conclusion that the public interest of registrants and users is better served by the PICs, the public interest commitments, by PIR, though they could be stronger than by forcing PIR to remain within ISOC without any guarantees on public interest related to data usage and freedom of expression. In other words, the deal was better for .org registrants. They got more from this. They would have got a PIR that was dedicated to their interests rather than just serving as a cash cow for the Internet Society. And at the same time, the Internet Society, the opposition, their interest was in this small one group, public org registrants, whereas the Internet Society has the interest of the internet at large, all users, all registrants, everything. And by no means are we, is the DNS, as we've seen in the arguments from Philip, the only way of addressing on the internet. So it's not a good situation really in terms of the long-term future of the internet, but it's where we are now. So that said, going back to the streams, if you see anything that's screwed up, you can always email me directly at this. And I'd like to give a shout out to my colleagues, Forrest and Corey, and especially to Greg for doing all the production work. That's it.
Hey, that was Jolie. Jolie has Internet Society in his heart and his soul, and he wanted to share that with you. Jolie is the wizard behind our streaming setup. Fantastic, amazing job we've had during this conference. We'll hear more about that during how we did it later on tonight. Right now, our last lightning talk is Scott talking all about Mandelbot project. Take it away, Scott.
Hi, hey, thank you very much for having me and letting me join. This is about the Mandelbot project, so we'll jump right into it. Mandelbot was started in 2012 as a kind of collectively run project, like all volunteer, open source hardware project. We're kind of spread out all over the place. And it started off as a project, which is a design philosophy. And the whole idea was to basically create parametrically designed and programmatically creatable machines. So kind of like universal machines. Virginia Ozymandias approached me a while ago and suggested this idea that of kind of creating an application that could spit out any 3D printer of any size, so it's scalable. And so that's kind of where we started. And we decided to keep everything open source. We wanted everything to be easy to assemble, have a low part count, low power consumption, be ecologically minded, portable and easy to transport, have easily swappable print heads. So the idea is to have 3D printers that are additive, but also subtractive, ones that can print with molten plastic materials like PLA, which is a bioplastic, or print with food, which I'll show you in a second. We're inspired by the RepRap project, which is, I guess, it was a project that was created at the University of Bath in England as a kind of an engineering project to, I guess, to figure out if people could make a 3D printer using off-the-shelf parts. And so basically they made an XYZ gantry with a hot glue gun on it. And that wound up inspiring all of the 3D printers that you've seen since then. I mean, 3D printing had been around for quite a while. Actually, the first time I'd seen a 3D printer was in 2004 at Hope, or maybe it was 2006. But what wound up happening is that a lot of the patents that were involved with 3D printing expired, and that kind of led to the whole revolution of makers using them, and RepRap played a very big role in this. So one of the big features of the printer is low power consumption and portability. Our whole goal was to make a bicycle-powered 3D food printer that could print food, almond paste, during a performance that I do called the Groucho Fractal Show. And we wound up succeeding by combining batteries and supercapacitors together. You can see in the middle was the latest version that was created. And then on the right is my design partner on this version, Lucian Chapar. I'm the one on the glasses. And that is the goo extruder, which is an extruder that extrudes goo. And there's a little pile of goo there on the print plate. Okay, so the next phase that we're working on is 3D printed ecotexture and construction. So I've been spending a bit of time with a project called WASP, which is a kind of industrial 3D printer company based in Italy. And on the right, you actually see one of their 3D printed buildings. This building is actually called Gaia on the right. On the left is a prototype for a project called Tekla, which they're currently trying to build I guess they're trying to build 3D printed buildings with no support structures inside. And they're using natural material. And so they're using a combination of clay, sand, and rice hulls. You can also use straw, you can use hemp and hempcrete. So our intention is to start experimenting in this way. And so this is the thing that we've been working on. Jake Clark and myself have been working on this for the past couple of years. It's called the Mandelbot Hab. This is the Mandelbot Hab 1. And it's basically a Cartesian gantry with a print head on it that will print using cementitious materials. So the way that the project is going to advance in the future is that we're going to put the plans out for this printer and start building a community around architecture and ecotecture, collaboration and horizontal governance. Also, we're going to work on getting together a materials science collaborative workshop in order to come up with materials that are open source and printable in the Mandelbot Hab. We're also going to try to do it with low power consumption as possible to have autonomous energy systems. So let's say that we're going to have the printer out in the bush and there isn't an ample power supply close by, or you just kind of want to be free from the electrical grid. And finally, we have this idea about having horizontal ownership and a schema for cooperative ownership using distributed ledgers and blockchains and that type of thing. So we're working on all this, and you'll be able to find all the information at mandelbot.io. That's not Mandelbrot, but mandelbot.io. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. My name is Scott Bybin, and I wanted to thank Hope very much for hosting me. Hope has been the reason why I've gotten into so many of the different things that I've gotten into, whether it's 3D printing and brain-computer interface and all other types of weird hardware projects and cultural stuff. It's been a pleasure organizing the film festivals for Hope, and I just wanted to thank you guys again for doing a fantastic job. And yeah, thanks so much, Greg, and thank you, Hope folks. If you have any questions, you can poke me in the Riot chat.
Fantastic. Okay, thanks, Scott. And that was right on time. I appreciate you getting in under the wire there. So that is the end of Lightning Talks round 2. We have had 2 rounds of Lightning Talks. I would say that this one was smoother. Once again, learning a whole lot about Zoom interactively in our meetings here. And we really, really hope, I say this on the record, we really, really hope that we won't be using Zoom next time, or maybe Zoom will improve their situation a little bit, but it's been the right choice of technology. To find out more about our choice of technology, how the rest of the conference went, some closing remarks, all kinds of cool stuff, some of the inside information, tune in for the closing ceremonies tonight. That is the How We Did It session, and you can find it here on the live stream. That's going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And most interesting, we're also going to invite everybody into a big blue button room. We're going to see how that works out. So we're done with Lightning Talks. Check back on the live stream momentarily. We're going to hear about ZBay fighting Fang and the quest for peer-to-peer messaging app that just works with Holmes Wilson at the top of the next hour. Signing out from Lightning Talks.